St. Stephen's Day. Merry day after Christmas. Sometimes a sad day, particularly for the kids, right? Because all the excitement that they were building up to, today's like kind of an ordinary day. For the shopper types, it's not. I mean, they get a chance to go into stores. And for example, Dr. Maria, who's still in New Hampshire, coming back tomorrow, she's enjoying buying presents for next Christmas. Or boxes, actually, and stuff like that. She said it's the best day of the year. They got great stuff that's left over, nice, cheap prices. Okay. And the stores, of course, are, I guess it's Boxing Day, Ted, because people return the boxes in London. In England, it was called Boxing Day.
Is that where it originates from, the name Boxing?
Yeah. I always thought of it when I was a kid because they used to sing the song about St. Stephen, good King Wenceslas went down on the feast of Stephen. Must be a Polish hymn. We'll see if you can find the hymn. We'll play it. But this is a feast of St. Stephen, who was a martyr, early martyr, and day after Christmas, cold as you know what in New York, just like a lot of the rest of the country, huh? There was a thing in the paper that if we do go to Florida, which is now 50-50 or less or better, we don't know yet, and this just could make up my mind. I'm going to have somebody checking it out tomorrow. Iguanas are frozen on trees and falling down in the Palm Beach, Fort Lauderdale area of Florida because of global warming.
Warming?
No, you can say things like that in the Biden administration. You say things that are Ted, you just haven't gotten it yet. You know, Ted's a little slow in picking up new stuff. Very smart guy. Kind of a traditionalist, though. He's a little slow in picking up new stuff. See, I just got him with a Bidenism, right? Let's try another one. The border is strictly closed. Nobody can get in without the Biden people knowing everything about him. Right?
Right.
That's the same. It's the same thing. See?
Meanwhile, we're seeing thousands of people basically walking across the border.
It's really tragic. I mean, it's really, really, really hard to make any kind of jokes about it, except I'm now looking at a picture of the January 6th committee, which is actually not a joke. It could be the largest assemblage in any one place of liars, which is hard for Washington. Almost any room, there's Crybaby. There's Cry. Oh, he's not crying, though. Gee, I'm surprised. Well, so now we've got to start getting ready for the new year. We've got to put our focus on the new year. It's a big year, 2020. Should we do a Biden? 1942, when we'll watch television with Franklin Roosevelt on it. That's what a numbskull thinks. So we're going to prepare a podcast. And last time I prepared one, and it became two because I got interested. And it got good, very good numbers. Like a lot of people watched it, and some people watch it like 5-6 weeks into the year and sent me notes about it. So I'm putting a lot of work into it this time. I'm going to bring you into it, okay? The idea is, it's easy to say what were the biggest stories of 2022. It's easy to say that, biggest stories. But, you know, for example, the Johnny Depp and Hearst story was one of the big, if you look at just coverage, right? That probably was on, 2 months. Well, all we see is Johnny Hearst and his pretty girlfriend, and I couldn't tell if he won that fight or Corn Pop won. I mean, it was hard to tell. She was beating him up. He was beating her up. They were doing things to each other. That was a meaningless story.
Meaningless but big story.
How about the Sussex? That is another meaningless story. Too spoiled.
Who?
The third in line to the monarchy in England.
Who? What? Yeah, I'm not even sure that was a big story.
Oh, it was a big story.
What happened?
They got like $10 million, $20 million, $50 million.
Who did?
They did. The two con artists, Harry and
Megan
and Maggie.
Oh, the show you're talking about? Are you talking about the show they made on Netflix or somewhere?
Yeah, but they got money for that. They
the Queen dying, that was a big story.
No, I know that, but my point that I'm trying to make is there were big stories, but those aren't the big story I want you to think about is the Queen dying.
Yeah.
I don't want you thinking about Harry and Maggie.
The pop culture,
that kind of crap.
Side
It's on. That's on forever and ever. Or I'm not even going to say the name because I don't want to get involved in it. But the couple that's on TV, and it turned out they were having an affair, and they do a show together, and it went really well. But then they did something that got somebody angry, so now they're off the air.
Maybe I think too much of our audience, Mayor. I'm not sure they're familiar with this stuff. I certainly am not. So there may be we could talk about. This might be a whole nother discussion on how there are things going on that.
That's because you're all out of it. I mean, you're just not hip like I am.
That might be it, Mayor. Right? You're more in the know than I am.
Everybody knows how hip the Mayor is.
You must be. You are much more in the know on pop culture.
We want the stories that have the biggest impact.
Yes.
Like here. I have several criteria. One, we like the hidden stories because we really do. And I want you to criticize us when we're not doing it well enough. Because if I'm not doing this well enough, I'm quitting. I'm not doing my job. Our job, Ted and I. And then I could outline for you about 20 other people, and I may do that actually. It get me in trouble because I might leave some people out. I believe are the only thing left of a free press in America. Like this weekend, or last week, we had the Christmas party for John Catsimatidis WABC, on which I broadcast 6 days a week. And I congratulated John and his wife Marco, who's a very big part of the business, for buying WABC and devoting it to free speech. I mean, they have Greg Kelly on, who's pretty much exactly where I am politically. I mean, we have a few different views, but I would say our political position is pretty much the same. Or they have Mark Levin, who to me is a genius, and O'Reilly, Rush Limbaugh's former sidekick, Bo Snerdley, of course, Ted, who I love Ted in the morning. You got to watch Ted in the morning. We're trying to come up with a regular time for me to be on. It was supposed to be Friday, but then I slept through it. Yep, I'm sorry. He's such a good guy, though. First time it happened, I thought he would never talk to me again. But he said, anytime I can have you on, Mayor. What a great guy Ted is. You got to listen to that. That was Bernie and Ted, and Bernie passed on earlier this year. Bernie and Ted had been with Imus for many, many years.
Sid.
Bernie and Sid. Ted. No, I'm thinking of Ted. You. Bernie and Sid.
Yeah.
And, but we also have Anthony Weiner. And we have Governor Patterson, former Democratic governor.
What are we? We're talking about WABC radio.
So the point is, there are bastions of free speech. I'd like to think we're one of them. I want to know when I'm telling you stories you're not getting anywhere else, or I'm giving you emphasis that you're not getting anywhere else, or I'm giving you a perspective that's being hidden and kept silent by the fascist state in which we now live. Okay, so we're going to come up with the best stories of 2022. I've got kind of a funny article I'm using to help think about it. Dave Barry's 2022 year review. Kind of left-leaning, but kind of balanced and some real funny stuff in it.
So we're not ranking them now, Mayor, but give us some.
I'll give you some ideas.
Yeah, give us some ideas. Comment below if you're listening or watching. Yeah. Comment below your thoughts on some of the big stories.
Okay, I'm going to give you some ideas, and I've left some out. Okay, I have a little board here. I don't know if you can move that over.
We can. We can.
Because I don't have the little stickers.
Yeah, we can move.
But we got to get some of the stickers.
I'm moving the camera over right now.
Yeah, but you know we could use stickers for this.
Yeah.
We could get a sticker and put it here. We could get a sticker and put it here, and it would go right to the board. But that's okay.
Oh, we actually might have those.
No more advertising for that. Maybe tomorrow when we go to the store. He and I go shopping for. It's like remember when you went to toy stores. If we go to electronic stores, like this beautiful, beautiful, beautiful microphone, which has a match, which is hidden right there. So these are the 20 I call this, I'm working on a title too, 2022 minimized stories. Censored stories, minimized stories, need more attention. So, and this is not number one, absolutely not number one, I don't think. But I have 10. I may bring it down to 5. I may bring it to 6 or 10. Those are the magic numbers. I'd rather see it at 6 than 10. I had it at 10 last year, largely because of lack of discipline. Democratic crime pandemic. It's repeating itself just like last year. 2 years in a row, it goes from an epidemic to a pandemic, right? I mean, we got thousands of people being killed. Unfortunately and tragically, a lot of them young people. So this is, I would say, one of the big stories, and it definitely is a minimized story. In many of the newspapers throughout the United States, it just isn't covered the way it should be covered. You would have no idea you have as much crime as you do. You might get it from local news, because local news is prone to covering crime, even if they want to try and, fix things for the Democrats. Number 2, censorship. I have it as number 2, could be number 1. And so when we're talking about censorship, we got a couple of levels, right? We've got the censorship that is now emerging day after day after day about how deep the censorship was of the hard drive. And now we've got, we're into about 3 phases now of COVID that were just revealed, some of it on Christmas Eve, that the Biden administration took a fairly benign relationship between the Trump people, the bureaucrats, not Trump himself, and social media, that began with asking social media not to frighten people too much about COVID. And as soon as they came in, they got involved in a big disinformation campaign, kind of by Biden language, where everything is false, and covered up an awful lot of things that people needed to know about COVID, causing death. Now, the articles revealing it don't make the point that it caused deaths, but I will show you how it does. This is almost certainly one of the top 5, 6, or 10 stories. Inflation? We could also look at that as the economy, the performance of the economy, how people feel about their future. There's a whole group of things here. Now, remember, we've got in each one of these, we have each one of these Orwellian Biden language operating, right? So inflation, there is no inflation. Censorship, there is no censorship. And the crime epidemic, there is none. It just isn't true that Philadelphia had more murders last year in its history than ever before, or Rochester had more murders in its history than ever before, or that there's just a statistic on the 3 major states that people moved out of last year. You know what they are. First of all, you know what they have in common. The most exited, the most entered, Democrat, Republican. People may split 50-50 in how they vote with their votes. When they vote with their feet, they run away from Democratic enclaves. So California, number 1 loser. Illinois, number 2. New York, number 3. What do they all have in common? Crooked Democrat machines that tax the living daylights out of few and are having, in various parts of the state, massive crime epidemics. What are the states that are getting the people? The top 2 are Texas and Florida. Major Republican enclaves. Third one, North Carolina. Red state, light red, not dark, but a red state. It's telling you something that you should pay attention to when you vote. Your fellow citizens are telling you, when it comes to their self-interest, they're getting the hell out of democratic cities and states. The express train to Marxism, which we've done before, but how far along have we come? Are we there yet? Are we at Marxism? Is our economy a Marxist economy? Is it a socialist economy? Arguments? Redistribution of wealth. Are more people working, or more people getting taken care of by the government? Which is growing faster? People going to work, people going on the dole. How much has the government taken over since the last time we looked at this? How many of the solutions are moved to the government rather than the private sector? It connects very much and may be part of the same story as parents, bureaucrat, government. It really should be parents versus government or government versus parent on who controls the child. Now, controls is the wrong word. It guides the child until maturity. Who's the guardian of the child? The state or the parent? In left-wing Marxist circles, it's the state. Now, atheism, immorality, get God out. No God, no rules, no sexual inhibitions, no nothing. And you can go into a store and steal, and the cops will watch and write down your name and do nothing about it and let you out on no bail. There's nothing like wrong. You're entitled to do anything you feel like doing or you want. Here we have another exercise of Bidenism, total, complete, absolute dishonesty. The open border, which they say is a closed border, of course, they're setting records for people coming in, but they're also setting records for people dying of fentanyl, caused so totally by Biden. Minimized story, absolutely. Just a report of a poll in which only 6% of the American people think I get the number right as the number of people that have come in under Biden. You know, get it in the millions. They all think it's in the 100,000. It's at 4 million now. That's the number we registered. So you realize, of course, it's a big border, right? So people come in when the Border Patrol is engaged the way it is now, which does no Border Patrol at all. People come in at all the places where the Border Patrol isn't. And that number, I've seen in my years of 30 plus years in immigration, I've seen that vary anywhere from 50% to more than 100%. In other words, if 1 million come in checked, 1 million come in unchecked, or 500,000, or so. Let's go with the low number of 50%. That means there are 2 million people walking around this country who came in while Halfwit was president, and we don't know who they are. We don't know who they are. If they came in that way, there's a pretty good chance you wouldn't want to let them in your house. We're sending them all to Pelosi. Well, because her husband made a lot of money. You know that, right? On insider trading and all sorts of unethical activities in Congress. Could be illegal, too. So therefore, they should really have to pay something back. A mentally, morally incompetent president. Do you disagree with that? Do you disagree that he's mentally incompetent? Oh, it's so nice to be here in Colombia. Here in Cambodia. And now I'd like to introduce President Harris. You're the president, Nitwit. Okay. Well, we'll come up with a couple of those and we'll see how bad. How bad. I did a podcast on this about 2 months ago about how bad has it become. Whoa. This guy is slipping off the cliff. But what about morally incompetent? Morally, I mean, the guy can't remember when he wasn't taking bribes. And he's lying. I mean, everything he says is a lie. He just did the thing about his uncle getting the Purple Heart from him. This is like seeing Roosevelt on television. There was no television when Roosevelt was alive. He couldn't have got it from him when he was vice president. The uncle was dead when Joe was vice president. Maybe he went to the grave and gave him he pinned it on the dead body in the coffin. Mentally, morally incompetent president. Can't run a country with an incompetent president. Gender chaos. Now, this could be part of breaking down of morality, but it really is to completely confuse our kids, make them into useless kids who want to commit suicide even more often than normal kids want to commit suicide. And finally, we have, of course, the Ukraine war. Now, the first 9 easily fit into Marx's agenda for America. So the first 9 or 8 of the 9, because we have expressed train to Marxism, all fit into that. I want you to think on those a bit. We've spent some time on them. I want you to think on it, but I want you to add a few to it for me, huh? Like you think are the biggest. You're going to feel bad if I don't mention it as the biggest story of the year. You know, maybe you got a promotion or something. And that's the biggest story of the year. No, I'm not. I'm serious. I mean, I want you to tell me. I want you to tell me what you think is the biggest story of the year, or the biggest stories that should be emphasized, that people should know about. This isn't the biggest story, but it's really interesting. In San Francisco, a judge ruled. The judge is Donna M. Rue, the United States District Court in Oakland, which I guess is the Northern District of California. She ruled that bars she ruled that the city cannot take away tents and belongings of people who are living out on the streets. She says mayors cannot run cities this way. Who will I get a mayor? What right is she enforcing? The right to live on the street? Where's that in the Constitution? Now, we had a lot of trouble with Roe against Wade because people made up that the right of privacy is in the Constitution. It isn't. You can interpret a right. You can make up a right. Then there's certainly no right to an abortion in the Constitution. States can put it there. And that's what's going on now. But this is. What do you mean a mayor can't remove a person from living on the street? First of all, Judge Rue, Your Honor, respectfully, do you know that this was an advancement our civilization made about 500 years ago when people stopped defecating on the streets? Do you know one of the reasons was the plague? It is completely unsanitary for these people to live on the street. It is dangerous to them and other people. It's also, in another way, very dangerous. About 40% of them are paranoid schizophrenics, and the more isolated they are, the more dangerous it is for them, and more prone to violence they become. The city attorneys say that its policies balance the right of homeless people with the need to maintain clean and safe public spaces. How about sanitary, healthy public spaces, huh? They say there are 7,800 homeless people in San Francisco. Got to be low. There are about 80,000 in New York. Not that different. They probably have phony numbers anyway. They probably have phony numbers just to go along with things. But that's a real blow to being able to keep that city safe, that a mayor or a city council can't say, the streets are not for sleeping. That's why we, a long time ago, did things as civilized people, like we invented tents and houses, and then indoor plumbing. We invented indoor plumbing. Do they know that in San Francisco? Does the judge know? Judge Rue, indoor plumbing, kid. The plague. So it now turns out, with the latest dump from Twitter, that the Biden administration was censoring information big time on COVID. Of course, we know this, right? They completely censored information on hydroxychloroquine and killed people as a result of it. Same thing with ivermectin. And therefore, there was no consistent treatment available in an early stage, that where it was available, the success rates all throughout Europe, and with a few doctors like Dr. Zelenko, who practiced it in America, was somewhere upwards of almost 100%, 97, 98, 99%. Among young people, perfect. They viciously and completely deceptively, as it came about that the vaccine was not a vaccine. They played the Biden name game, the Orwellian doublespeak. They continue to maintain that, this was President Nitwit said, this is an epidemic of the unvaccinated. He doesn't speak. He doesn't have the energy to say it that way. This was the epidemic of, unvaccinated. I got it right. First of all, it wasn't a vaccine because, I don't know, you don't need another one 4 months later. That's called a treatment, which you never bothered to provide, and kill people as a result of that, and put restrictions on treatments that kill people. Thank God you didn't kill any of my friends, because I knew how to get the hydroxychloroquine and the ivermectin and got it for them. And I got people that'll stand here and tell you they're alive today because of one of them who only had half a lung, or a lung and a half, more or less. Would have been dead if they followed you. Like you got people killed in Afghanistan, Biden. You got a lot of people killed in the United States where you're lying about COVID. The mask thing, what a joke. What a joke. A cloth mask, worthless. For kids, dangerous. Dangerous not only because of the psychological impact of it, because they sniffle. And they just re-ingest everything they're trying. The reason they're sniffling is they're excreting what's on, and they just take it right back in. Well, you will see in this, because it's the beginning of a massive dump, that the COVID situation was a completely dishonest, cynical operation by the biggest lying administration in the history of this country, the Biden administration. And it was about a matter of public health and a matter of life and death. And it led to a lot of death. It was unnecessary. A lot. And also, even to this day, people are not being given the correct information about the arguments about the after effects of the symptoms or the possibilities of what could happen if you take the vaccine. I knew this from day one. For 5 years, 6 years, 7 years, 8 years, 9 years, you watch television and medicine is advertised. We have a new medicine for diabetes. It's the best medicine that ever lived, except you have to be aware of the fact that it could give you a headache, make you feel sick, make you feel tired, make you irritable, make you depressed, make you blow your brains out, make you pull your toes out. And meanwhile, they play nice music behind it. So when they say, make you kill yourself, make you tear your hair out, and you see some ugly old man with this beautiful woman or this beautiful couple walking off into the sun. And but they put out all these things, and you say to yourself, how does anybody buy this medicine? It kills everybody. Of course, every medicine has side effects. Aspirin does. Hydroxychloroquine and ivermectin, the first time they were mentioned, they acted like they were poison. They only been around like hydroxychloroquine for 50 years. They're about as safe a drug as you're going to have. I took it numerous times. See, I survived that, and I survived Gore's global warming. Liberals try to get you a lot. They're going to get us in 2010 with global warming. That didn't work. They were going to get us with hydroxy. Well, I took it. Taken it 4 times. I'm here. No side effects. That was a lie. They're not there yet. There was only one dump. Have to go through it. They're not there yet. They're going to get there. Follow the money. Follow the money. This was a greed play by Fauci. It's the reason he doesn't want to tell you and identify, where does he come off, not telling us where his royalties are coming from. Huh? You're going to find out that guy like Cuomo, who got the Emmy Award, big hero, great hero, turns out to be the guy who, let's give him the benefit of that, negligently killed thousands of elderly people. Hardly deserved an award. Neither did Fauci. A lot of people got whacked because of him and his statement that China would never put its own citizens' lives at risk. Well, that's coming out right now. A lot of material to absorb. I only got through maybe a third of it, so we'll be talking more and more about it. I got the gist of it though, and I'm looking for the money part yet, and they haven't gotten to that yet. But these are good reporters. They'll get there. They'll get there. The core of this was making money, and they've been planning this big payday for quite some time. By the way, we got the same thing, the same censorship. Pushing the agenda, brainwashing thing with gender and LGBTQ and gender identity with Dr. Rachel Levine and a group of the people that that handle this for him. I mean, they're going around trying to make it kind of reversing it. Like if you say I don't want my child's gender messed with, until they're 18 or mess with it all, or we certainly don't want questions being raised without knowing about it until the kid is 18, you're some kind of a bigot. You're engaging in disinformation. You're the wrong one. And what it comes down to really is a battle bigger than that with the teachers union and others. I had it up there before. It's a little further away, but it's who's the guardian of the child? The state under Marxism or the parent under Western civilization? That's the issue that's going on. The Biden administration is on the side of the state, as in Marxism, as they are in almost every other situation. Also, Governor Abbott has taken heat because on Christmas Eve, was it? On Christmas Eve, he sent a boatload of illegal immigrants from Texas to the immigration czar's office, the vice president, maybe just to remind her that this is her responsibility, and figuring that a place that is a sanctuary city for immigrants and has spent years inviting them to come in is going to be better prepared than little El Paso, which is doing a great job for a city that's overwhelmed with hundreds of thousands of people coming out of the manhole covers now in El Paso. Yeah, like 20, 30 at a time, not like a person. And this is a national problem. Texas didn't ask him to come in. Joe Biden did. Joe Biden said, surge to the border. He said it at the Democratic convention. It wasn't Governor Abbott who said that. Governor Abbott tried to use the National Guard to stop him. Texas doesn't want them there. They got too many people. But D.C. does. D.C.'s a sanctuary city. So is New York. Adams loves having them here. He's angry about who pays, and he's angry about all kinds of things, and he wants Biden to pay, and he blames it on Abbott and DeSantis. I don't know if he blames it on, they all blame it on Trump, which is kind of interesting since Trump's number when he had control was 500,000. Their recent number was 2.4 million. Sounds like another one of those Biden speak complete absolute lies from an inveterate pathological liar, Joe Biden. But in any event, I think Abbott has done the country a great service, as has DeSantis and Ducey, by sending these people around, because this story was being covered up. A lot of Americans don't know how bad it is at the border, and it has implications now for everyone. Every city is a border city, particularly with fentanyl. And before we get to your questions, I got one more thing to tell you, just because I'm angry. Do you know the New York State legislature gave itself a 32% raise? They can't revoke a bail bill that is taking some of our cities and killing more young people than have ever been killed in those cities before now for the second year in a row. We got a state in which, aside from California, the most people are leaving because people can't stand living here under you, Hochul, and the Democrats who control the legislature, like the Soviets controlled the Duma? And you pass yourself, you're entitled to a raise? You think you'd be happy with your commissions that you all get? Well, Ted,
lots of comments
how are our
tonight.
people doing?
A very busy evening tonight, Mayor. Lots of people tuning in. Let us know where you're tuning in from. Give us your name and ask away. So, Mayor, we're getting a lot of questions. People want your opinion on some different stories, some different happenings from the past year. So let's see here. We go through and we are President Trump announcing his next run for president. Where does that rank for you, Mayor? That's a question we were getting from a few folks.
Okay. I put that. Okay, I'm going to write that one down. As you pass these along to me, I'm going to write these down because we're all going to get evaluated by the very, very distinguished committee of
comment
Ted
below.
and Dr. Maria and me.
Comment below what you think should be on the list as
And you know
a
what?
potential top story for
I
2022.
will, unlike Abraham Lincoln, I will not say that if they're two are against it and I'm for it, I'll go with it. Like Lincoln said, when they all voted against something and he was for it and he said he was going to do it. I think it was Seward who said, but where's democracy? He said, this isn't a democracy. I'm the boss. You like that, Lincoln, huh?
The Mar-a-Lago raid.
So which one? You say what?
Trump's announcement.
We say Trump's announcement.
Somebody else is saying the Mar-a-Lago raid.
I actually would go with that more, largely because it's more unusual. I mean, Trump's running is almost like not news in the sense we knew he was going to do it. Is it important for the country? Yes.
The Twitter files.
And it wasn't undercovered, really. Was it covered unfairly? Well, everything about him is covered unfairly.
The Twitter files.
Absolutely. Should be considered. I mean, I thought of that as kind of fitting in the censorship thing and I mean, a couple of those areas. Maybe we'll push it more on Twitter itself.
Ray Hardiman says the election issues. So, potentially the Arizona lawsuit.
I got to tell you, I don't think they pushed. I'm not saying yes or no on that.
Salvatore says the border. We have that on there.
We got the border, Salvatore. We can't miss the border. The border could be number one, even though it isn't played as number one, because it could be the most pervasive. Beyond everything else with the border, I mean, there's so many implications. We're losing our country. The country has to have a border because it has to have a definition.
The fake January 6th results. So the whole January 6th committee, I guess the results.
The January
up of the January 6th committee.
The January 6th committee of liars. See, I think they were all picked for that. The reason I don't know if you know this.
Thank you, Debbie.
I got this from a great source that will not be identified. But Pelosi actually turned down the Republicans that were nominated and picked the two that she did because she wanted to see if she could historically have a committee made up of the biggest liars in the history of Congress. So the Republicans that were recommended didn't fit that bill. So she picked Cheney and Crybaby. And then, of course, she's got Shifty Schiff there, who should really have been the chairman. He really should have been. Although the chairman's not a bad liar himself. I mean,
Benny Thompson.
Yeah, Benny was an election denier for about 5 years, and now it's a crime.
Inflation. Patrick says inflation, which we have, of course, on the list. FTX, Hobby's Hound brings up FTX. So the FTX fallout.
Yeah, FTX. Yes, we'll put it on the list. It may have come along a little late in the year to be as dominant I mean, you also got to look for a story that sort of pervaded the year a bit. But okay, FTX. I mean,
the billion
and FTX is being censored. It's being downplayed. It's not being played.
I mean, the second largest donor to the Democrat Party. This guy, the second largest donor to the party, has come out to be a total fraud, stole people's money, and they conveniently waited, Mayor, until after the election.
Well, I think you could trace about 80% of the money into the Democratic into races that helped to win some
some dark money. And look, I'm not complaining. We use dark money groups too. But their dark money is literally coming from criminals.
I hope we don't have one of those.
Well, yeah, exactly. We're complaining about that.
But considerably less publicity than my experience, of course, would be Boesky and Milken. But considerably less publicity than that.
Oh yeah, people don't know those stories, right? Like
I mean, they knew the stories then. I mean, it was front page news. Boesky and Milken were front page stories for 3 years.
The front page of the New York Times. We've read some of the paragraphs. Maybe we'll pull those out again sometime when the New York Times is.
Oh, that's when I was a hero.
Yeah, they love Mayor. Yeah, they love Mayor Giuliani at the time, prosecutor. The young crime-fighting
man.
Perry Mason. All those Elliot Ness. Those are the.
I went after white-collar criminals. They really like that. White collar criminals. I like that white part.
Thanks for joining us. So lots of people coming in with a lot of.
Here's the simple fact, but they never got it because they said, "Oh, he's changed. He was such a great prosecutor. He's the only mayor that actually really ever changed the city." They'll even admit that, particularly now with crime. I've even got one or two to admit that I reduced crime more than any mayor in the history of any city. But I used terrible tactics. I was beating people on the street, taking away their rights, clubbing them, disproportionately killing black people. How about disproportionately saving their lives? How about incidents? Although I had I had two that were really controversial that turned out three. And three that were very controversial. One of them was a police officer who did an unnatural act to a man. And that police officer, due to the investigative work of my police commissioner, Howard Safer, I would say under my very general direction, because Howard was a great investigator himself, but we handled the case together, almost as we used to when he was a marshal and I was a U.S. attorney. And we got the guy in a day, and he's sitting in prison for 25 years. He's a cop. I've put 70 cops in jail, and I love cops. Because there were 70 cops that were crooks during the time that I was a prosecutor, mayor. That's about the right percentage. It's a small percentage. I mean, I had a police department of 41,000 at any one time. So,
thanks for joining us, America's Mayor Live.
How was your Christmas, everyone?
Rudy
Did we all
Giuliani,
enjoy Christmas? Did you? I mean, a number of you got my picture, I hope, because I sent it out all day Christmas. I sent out my picture, but not everybody is on my email list. First of all,
you gonna show it on here? Hold it up.
Can I? Am I allowed to?
Yeah.
Okay. Here.
You have it on there.
Here. Here, I'll take it out of here. It's easier if I just take it out of here like this.
And hold it up. Hold it up.
I have it backwards.
Hold it up. No, it was good. That was good. Hold it up. Can you hold up the? Oh, hold it up to the side.
Which side?
Of your face, either side of your face.
My side?
Yeah. Hold it up to this. Hold it up more, and to the side of your head. Yeah.
Does everybody see that? Ho, ho, ho! Merry Christmas! That's me. That's me playing Santa Claus. Originally for my granddaughter Grace, because I didn't want her to be frightened of Santa Claus, and she wasn't. And then I did it on my radio show with Dr. Maria yesterday, Uncovering the Truth, our Christmas show. I did the whole show in there. Did the whole show in there.
You're good. We're good, Mayor.
People got a chance. People got a chance to ask. Can you imagine asking Santa Claus questions right after he returns from the North Pole? And it was, I'm telling you, it was freezing. And that guy, Rudolph, that reindeer guy, you know, it went to his head when Gene Autry did that song, particularly You'll Go Down in History stuff. Every once in a while, when I tell him to start taking on extra work, he says, I'm in history. I say, well, what? I mean, that doesn't mean anything for a reindeer. Now,
thanks for joining us, America's Mayor Live with America's Mayor, Rudy Giuliani.
But this is the one that I sent out that I really like. I took it myself. I took this one myself here. Let me see the one I like the best here. Yeah, I like the lighting on this one. Look at this.
All the pictures are showing up.
Is it?
Nope.
Oh, too many? Okay, hold it. We'll get it right. Have your patience. What do you say? You got it?
Yep.
Mother Mary, St. Joseph, and the Savior of the world. That's at St. Patrick's Cathedral, midnight mass. They have a wonderful ceremony where they march the baby in. If you just want to see the baby, here. Let me see if you can see this. There's the baby. Can you see it?
Yep. Oh yeah. What is that?
That
Tell us, what are we looking at there?
That's Christ, our Savior, laying in the manger at St. Patrick's Cathedral. Walked in by priests and the cardinals and the bishops and singing Adeste Fidelis, come all you faithful.
Yeah, what was that like? What was midnight mass?
And the priests put him in the manger. The manger is without child until midnight, and then the baby is put into the manger. It was a beautiful mass, and it was a great sermon by a great cardinal, Cardinal Dolan. It was a short, tight, really good sermon, and it was, God doesn't take no for an answer. Think about that. And he traces really very, very quickly the whole biblical history from Adam and Eve saying no to God, but God didn't say no to them, and just kept after how to bring man to salvation, humans to salvation, and of course making himself man to show how you can get to salvation and to elevate human life and the value of human life. Human life is so important that God will take on human life. It's the reason for the tremendous impetus in the Catholic Church about the destruction of fetuses, and that life is so important. I wish that people would, well, of course I wish they'd agree with it, but I wish they would be kind about it and understand that it comes from something good, not from it's not to hurt women. It's to save lives and to see if you can create a more fulfilling life for women in a life of service rather than in a life just about yourself. That's going to probably get me in a lot of trouble. But it's okay. I'm in a lot of trouble anyway. I did mention that the Pols in New York are giving gifts to themselves, but I'm going to mention it again because it drives me crazy. We got some new stuff to analyze. Our committee, the doctor, maybe we'll name it for Dr. Ryan. We'll make it a Dr. Ryan committee because she is a doctor. You're not a doctor. I'm not really a doctor. I have a JD degree. That's a phony degree. It's not really a doctor's degree. I'm going to tell you some jokes about it at some point. I had a judge I tried a case in front of when they first started that thing. You know, when I graduated from law school, I got what was traditionally the degree, LLB, Bachelor of Laws, Bachelor of Arts, Bachelor of Laws. That's what I have. Those are my degrees. I don't have 15 or 20 like Joe. I wasn't first in my class. I was really high in my class, though, in the top 10% on the law review. And I had to write an article to get on Obama. They didn't put me on, just because. And my article was cited by the Supreme Court, by the way, in the Powell case. I just want you to know that before the Bar Association of the City of New York suspended me because I'm in danger of creating a riot or whatever, that's a pretty good lawyer. In fact, I was so good, I think they didn't want me representing Trump. I was doing too good a job. They don't want anybody representing Trump. And it's getting hard to get anybody because they destroy him on purpose. And the Bar Association doesn't care about that. They're worried about my free speech. An Obama judge even recognized they were penalizing me for free speech, and they wouldn't reconsider their opinion. But that's all right. That's all right. That's all right. We're good. The truth will prevail. I'm feeling as strong about this as I ever have. I think it was the spiritual exercise of going through the Advent season and reading the breviary every day. Last night, it's a long, long office for Christmas. I read the whole thing, including the whole part in Latin. I must admit, my Latin has gotten bad. I used to be able to read it and understand it all now. But I have to say, now after I started reading it about halfway through. It's about 3 weeks now reading Latin. Last night I was as close to where I used to be in understanding it. I'm gonna continue to do it if I have the discipline. I'm just gonna continue to do it. So the stories we got so far, in addition to mine, are Trump's announcement of running for president, the Mar-a-Lago raid, which I don't know, maybe you connect those together.
Below.
The Twitter files, which I think fits in with our censorship. The election issue, I think they mean 2022. I think the 2020 election issue is still out there, by the way. Big time. You know, all the chickens are coming home to roost, right? So I'm going to do a chart for one of my podcasts. I won't do it for the. Ted's looking at me like we may be doing another chart. If we do any more charts, you know, we're going to have to get like 50.
We always have room for another chart, Mayor. Charts are great.
You know what? We're working on an electronic board so that we can play around like Bill Hemmer does. You know, that kind of stuff.
10 minutes.
I'll tell you a funny story about that too. So FTX, January 6th Committee of Liars, election issues 2020-2022. I like the 2020 ones better because I'm sure of them. You know, I have the support for them. Twitter files. I think Twitter is going to turn out to be a multifaceted censorship story by the Democrats. Because these people were all Democrats, they all raised money for them, and they were all killing stories that hurt Democrats, that helped Democrats, and hurt Republicans by killing them. The Mar-a-Lago raid, which was one of the great desecrations in history. Although I think raiding his lawyers' offices, including yours truly, not just me, but his other lawyer, is one of the great desecrations in history. I mean, it's like they go pick amendments and like just tear them up. You know, they go take the how about due process of law? Everybody gets treated equally. Like Biden, they raid my house and not Hunter Biden. And you want me to believe we live in a fair country? You want me to believe that we have the equal administration of law and that Democrats don't get away with crimes left and right like crazy because it's corrupt? Equal administration of justice? Hunter Biden. Go stuff it, baby. You're running a fascist state. That guy has gotten away with more crimes. Oh, but you know who got away with even more? The guy he was given 50% to. Who was that? How do we know he was given 50%? How do you know he was given 50%? I know it because he wrote it in the hard drive. That's how I know it. He wrote it in the hard drive. What, for fun? For fun? He says in the hard drive to his daughter, I'm giving 50% for Pop for the last 30 years for fun. And somehow Pop is a millionaire and never really worked a day in his life. He was a useless senator who just read things people gave him. Wrong, usually, most of the time. Wrong on every issue of foreign policy ever. I mean, if you got paid based on accountability and performance, he'd owe us money. Right? He got everything wrong. So we'll get to that because I think evaluating the past year will help us figure out where we're going next year, which I think is a transitional year because we're going into the 2024 election. I'm adding one myself here, which was on one of my earlier list, the midterm elections and what they mean, right? Now, we may save that for 2023 when we go right into it with what are the meaning of the 2022 elections, because the meaning is all going to be as we move toward the presidential election. But please do me a favor, if you would. Think about topics. Give me your opinion on these topics, because I'll include it in my analysis, and maybe we can, with using common sense, we can get to the truth. And pay attention to the podcast at Rudy Giuliani, CS.com. And then the podcast this week, as I said, And maybe you might want to flip through some of the podcasts in 2022, which I'm going to do tomorrow morning. And that'll give you an idea of, you can see what subjects did we repeat because they kept coming up. Which one, it'd be interesting to see which ones faded at the time. They're usually there. The podcast is usually there because it's an important story of that week or month. But you'll see some fade, some don't. Some take, we had one we put out again and it got like tremendous audience because it was relevant again. But most of that having to do with the Hunter Biden laptop, because I have three stages of revealing Biden's crimes. The pre-hard drive stage, which goes back to the early days of 2019, which there are about 10 there. Then the stuff that came out all in between. That's stage 2. And then we have the big 2020 October hard drive ones. And now the recent ones after the hard drive has been validated. I am no longer a Russian agent. I think that was a German accent. I'm much better at those because of World War II movies. You will give me your papers, please. You will not get on this train without your papers. Sorry, Ted, where are your papers? I do not see proper papers, Ted. Are you really, Ted?
What is the current vaccination and booster number that we are supposed to be at to be up to date right now? Do we know? Is it 5 or 6 probably at this
let me
point?
check. I wrote it down. I did. I seriously did. 73.
We're at
73. Half in the right arm, half in the left arm, and one in the middle of your head.
Only 72 if you're a child.
Yeah. And send the check directly to Fauci.
And when they talk about it, they talk about it as if it's an honor that you get.
I got it right away. I got the money.
It's not funny, but I can't help it. It's so ridiculous.
This is why I enjoyed talking to Robert Kennedy Jr. Because he's got it. He's got it down pat in his book. We're gonna get him on. He got it down. He's really got it down in his book. Really, this is a money thing. We think of Bankman-Fried as a massive money story. Actually, it is. Pandemic's a big money story too. These Fauci guys, they got paid the highest amount of money everybody in government. Fauci got paid the most for no reason. But he also got commissions. And he won't tell us who the commissions came from. Where does he get the right to not tell us where the commissions came from? Huh? Ha ha.
God bless you, Mayor.
Ted, we're locked in for 10 days now. Get my mask. I love watching the people in New York walking around with the mask. I feel sorry for them.
It's so bad when you see a kid, when you see kids wearing masks. And it's like, I
really feel sorry. They think it's doing some good, Maybe it is with the cold weather.
With the cold weather yesterday,
not bad.
I thought about almost wearing a mask when outside.
Yeah, well, I wouldn't have because of what it says, but I'm very stubborn. So we're going to be back with you tomorrow. We're going to be working hard between now and tomorrow on our list. We're going to be thinking about it quite a bit, and try to get it down to the right number of stories. We'll have to leave some out, but also give it an overview because let me tell you the overview so you're not surprised. It's, to me, none of this is disconnected. I mean, you could put these all out there as different stories on that chart, and I could bring them all together into one sequence. It's over 150 years old, and that's what we'll do. Okay? So thank you very much for listening in tonight on St. Stephen's Day, the Feast of Stephen, on Boxing Day, on returning your presents day and getting bargains day, and which is actually the holiday for Christmas. We'll see you tomorrow. God bless you, and God bless the greatest nation in the history of the world, the United States of America.